Delighted to welcome everyone to today's webinar, The New Thinking Behind Great Contact Center Leadership, a really important topic, I think, at the moment. I'm Rachel, and I'm going to be your webinar chairperson today. Delighted to welcome two great speakers onto today's webinar. Natalie Calvert from CX High Performance. Welcome, Natalie.
Hi, welcome. Thank you. Would you like me to introduce myself again, or we're going to move on?
Yes, for people who missed it at the start, yes, please introduce yourself.
Okay, so hi everybody. I'm Natalie Calvert. I've been involved in contact centers and call centers for 30-odd years now, which is great. I've seen a lot of the generations and how we've moved forward from those days where we were just doing what was called telemarketing, through to the call center, through to the whole piece around sales through service, through to this whole era now around experience that we're in now, but also the generations moving from phone to email to multi-channel now, in this exciting world that we are in currently. So more of that later on. Thank you, Rachel.
Brilliant, thank you very much. I'm delighted to welcome to her first webinar with us, Laura Bassett from Nice in Contact. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you very much, Rachel. And just for a little background on me, I know we did a little intro earlier as well, but I do work for Nice in Contact. I lead our product marketing team. I've been in the industry for over 25 years, helping customers solve customer experience issues, agent experience, giving the right tools to respond to whatever the need may be for their customer population. So.
Brilliant. Well, we look forward to hearing from both of you shortly. So just a reminder to everyone, we are taking a recording of today's webinar. That will be available later on this afternoon on callcenterhelper.com/recorded-webinars. Just a reminder that the discussion is, well, it's humming along at the moment on the chat room. That's available on callcenterhelper.com/chat, or you can just type in cch.chat. It's a short term that we've got. You just type that into your browser. Added bonuses of being in the chat room is that you can download a copy of the webinar slides. They're available up in the top right hand corner, and we are doing our quiz again today, so you will join in using these buttons down here, but we'll come back to that later. It is in a separate window, so with people's large screens today, hopefully you can put them side by side, or if you're working at home, as everybody is, you can put the quiz onto your phone and join in that way. Another added bonus of being in the chat room is that we are running our competition for sharing the best tip using #tip to share a tip, and #question if you want to ask our panel a question. And there's a bottle of champagne, box of chocolates, or an Amazon gift voucher available for the best one. So before we begin, I'm just going to start with a poll, which is: how frequently do your agents receive soft skill training after induction? Is it weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, seldom, / never? So I will just launch this one now. So Laura, I don't know, you're going to be talking a bit about this later. What do you think you've been seeing recently?
So it's interesting because what we tend to do, most organizations don't focus on those soft skills for their agents at a very high level, even during introductory training, but let alone as an ongoing basis. And so, you know, our recommendation is that we increase our focus on that, but we do it in tidbits. And I'll go into that a bit more. But I'm very interested to see if the data here correlates with what we find, and that it's even less than a couple of hours a month typically that we're spending on any type of ongoing training. So I'm very curious.
All right, so sharing the results, 26% say monthly and 26% say quarterly, 24% say seldom / never, and then 12% say weekly and 12% say annually. Is that kind of what you're seeing, Laura?
Yeah, I think that very well correlates. I mean, we find that, you know, there's less than an hour or no training on a monthly basis for about half of the centers out there. So.
Wow. Well, I'm just going to hide those results, and I'm delighted to hand over control to Natalie Calvert for her presentation to take us through everything. So let me just make you the presenter. Fab, and we just need the slides.
Slides have gone for a second. Okay.
Perfect. There we are. We can, yes.
A moment of relief, isn't it? Which is great. Welcome everybody, and I'm delighted today to be talking about the new thinking behind great contact center leadership. I haven't put the word in there brand new because I think there's a lot of stuff that we've gone through in the past that we can actually learn from. And I thought I would just, first of all, just start by saying that not only is today about great contact center leadership, but I think in the circumstances that we're all operating in right now, we have been catapulted totally in a period of, for the UK, 10 days, but for other countries, maybe at most a month, into a whole new way of working. And it reminds me very much of my time working in crisis management. I think also what I want to bring to the table today is some of that experience as well, rather than just the normal average kind of stuff. So what am I going to cover in terms of an agenda? Hold on, I'm just coming through, right, okay. Okay, so today I'm going to look at what does a great leader look like, leadership capability and employee engagement. Let's start off with what does a great leader look like. You know, I did think about putting up a competency framework or a list of things that we know that great leaders should be doing. But I thought I'd just start off with the 4 things that a strategic leader needs to be looking at. And obviously we've got the strategic leader, but then we've also got our vital team leader. And I would imagine in our audience today, we've got a mix of both. So what I'm going to try and do as I go through this is counter for both. And in some contact centers, I know too well, in the smaller operations, we've got the team leader that is also the strategic leader. So wearing both of those hats at the same time. So I think when it comes to the strategic leader, we're in this roller coaster of change. There are those organizations that are doing it well, but there are those organizations as well that are doing it in a very reactive and type of way that is creating a huge amount of anxiety for employees. So when it comes to our strategic leader, I think the 4 things we've really got to look at today is, number 1, customer satisfaction. And that role really for the strategic leader is to understand how you're measuring, how you're reporting, and the voice of the customer. The second area is around employee engagement. Now that engagement is whether you've got it in-house, whether you're outsourced, or you need now to be managed remotely. So the whole aspect of employee engagement is now shifting. The strategic leader will also have to look at how I'm going to get more out of less. Also manage digital transformation. I think that for me sums up the key area role of a strategic leader. But it's changing, and it's changing really rapidly. So let's look at more. We know those 4 things are going to be happening, but they've slightly shifted. So what do I mean? So instead of customer satisfaction, we're now talking customer experience. But that's not just a new phrase, the new flavor of the month, the new way. That's actually saying we're looking at end-to-end customer experience rather than that feedback we get on that customer interaction, which is much more satisfaction. So the strategic contact center leader of the future is really going to be looking at that broader picture, end-to-end customer experience. I'm just going to call out something I think we all need to be cautious of, and that is who owns customer experience in your organization. You could have asked a few years ago who owns the customer, but now as customer experience has come forward, we've got marketing claiming that ground very strongly again for customer experience. I'm also seeing operational teams own customer experience. But at the end of the day, within the realms of the contact center, you are managing a defined area of customer experience. It might not be the whole gambit, but it's definitely a piece that's sitting much further above customer satisfaction. And obviously the same is now starting to imply for employee experience. It's no longer just about how do we engage our employees. It's that whole EJM, employee journey mapping experience. It's the employee total end-to-end experience. And that now has become much more the role of the strategic leader. And instead of more for less, I would hope all of you leaders out there are thinking, wow, in today's climate, what is the return on investment I'm giving my organization? Whenever we come out of this period of disruption that we're all going through from a worldwide global perspective, this ROI in our contact centers will become even more. It's no doubt that we're going to go into tougher times. So I would argue now is the time to think about what value are you delivering in pounds, in dollars, whatever currency you have, in terms of return on investment. So for every customer interaction, what is the ROI you deliver back to the business? And technology. Technology is changing so rapidly right now. But it's not just understanding the technology in front of us today, but it's also what's around the corner. And I know Laura is going to talk a little bit about technology later on. But I think there are three other things that are coming to the forefront for us. And that's number one is about data and how we are managing, using all the data protection issues around GDPR, but also how we're reporting with data. So the contact center, as we all know, is this huge area to get insight back into the business, to help the business grow and change. So I think part of the strategic contact center leader's role is data. It's not leaving it to an analytical team. It's about how you bring insight through what you're doing to the organization so that the organization gets better. My second point here is security. And I think there are a number of levels on security, but you know, the growth in fraud in contact centers with customer fraud and also employee fraud has grown. But this whole area of security within the contact center to make sure that your technology structure is totally secure is very much now part of the remit of the strategic leader in collaboration with other teams across the organization. But I think especially with remote working now, at the forefront of our mind should be how do we make our data and therefore our customers or our business secure. And then finally, legislation. We've seen legislation change around distance selling. We've seen it around GDPR. We will see more legislation down the line now around the role of the customer contact center. So it's how are you working with your legal teams or your HR teams to make sure that you really understand the legislation and how you are impacting the customer perspective. I'll give you an example on that. I was talking recently about saying sorry to customers. And it's a very micro point, but how do you apologize to your customers? Do you apologize in a way that gives you liability for what's gone on? Or do you apologize in a way that makes you're apologizing for the customer's feeling about something? It's a fine line, but actually one could cost your organization a lot, and the other would have much more an empathetic result for your customer. But there's one thing that we're part of now that doesn't hit really any of that gender in any major way, but that's the fact that we're part of the fourth industrial revolution. And for me, this is the most exciting time to be working in a contact center. Every contact center leader is at the forefront of this change. Your tech people might feel they are, other areas of your business might feel they are, but actually you're hitting it customer first, customer led. And this fourth industrial revolution is what you've got to keep up with. So you're playing this strategic role in your contact center to lead your customers into the future. But there's another role in our contact centers we need to think about, and that's the team manager. So the team manager now is much more responsible for running the day-to-day operation. And our work has shown there are four kind of imperatives they have to do. One is to lead their teams forward wherever they're based, engage with their teams wherever they're based, get performance out of them wherever they're based, and connect. And connecting is about connecting with people across the organization. We know from our research that most team managers spend 30% of their time dealing with other departments, sorting out other issues, sorting out things that haven't been closed. So team managers learning to communicate, to collaborate with other parts of the organization is really quite critical when it comes to their role. So we've got our strategic leader and our team manager. And as I say, some people are doing both, but we now need to really understand that we have got some really important roles to undertake if we're going to move our organization forward. So that's what we're doing really today. And here are some of the team leader key responsibilities. And I think how we're seeing this shift at the moment is quite interesting, because a lot of the leading role will be taken by technology. A lot of the connection role over time, if we forward into the future, will be hopefully taken over by seamless integration, by better knowledge systems. The performance stuff as well will be taken over a lot by, insight and by technology. So where the team leader's role really starts to play a massive impact is engaging people. And for some of you, you might have think you've been doing that all along, but I would suggest to you there are a whole load of new things hitting. What are the key capabilities now of a leader going forward? That's whether you're the strategic leader or at the front line. I think there are a few things we need to be really mindful of. The first one is the customer champion. I was talking with a client recently, and the role of being the customer's champion hadn't really occurred to them. And actually, it's the role of being the customer champion for every frontline team member. Not just to be the voice of the customer in terms of collating data and insight for the MI team or for your insights team or your marketing teams. This is about picking up customer causes. We know customers have become more demanding. We know they're challenging our organizations. We know we're dealing with more complaints. But actually, customers have some very real reasons for phoning. And the contact center plays a key role in championing the customer across the business. And getting this customer thinking across the business. This isn't about inside the organization thinking. This is about outside the organization. This isn't about employee thinking. This is about thinking about our customers. And we've seen some examples recently here in the UK where organizations have taken employee experience to the nth degree, where they're now championing their employees. And at some level, that for me, and maybe rather contentiously, is at the cost of their customers. I would suggest that right now, where the contact center gets its voice from is from its customers, not from its employees. Start listening to your customers, and how that impacts your employees is key. So stressed customers is stressed employees. Bad knowledge systems mean customers are phoning you, and that then will stress your employees because undoubtedly they've got poor knowledge systems too. So be customer-led, and then think about how that impacts your employees to be a real champion across your business. The next area that's focusing on all of us is complexity. What's going to hit me next? We've got multi-gen. We've got multi-diversity. We have got multiple issues in our contact centers. We have so much technology that's hitting us from other angles. We've got other people that feel in our organization they can always do it better. But we know fundamentally we've also got 1 in 4 people have mental health issues. So not only have we got complexity, we've got a workforce that we really need to manage through this as well. And people say, well, I want the Amazon level of service. And as an Amazon customer, it's great. But do you know how many software developers, Amazon employs around the globe? In excess of 70,000 people. That's why they're so great. Now think about your own organization. How many software developers do you have? Probably half a dozen at best. And of Amazon, 70,000, 36,000 spend their full time writing code. For us to deal with complexity as leaders, we've really got to make it easier at first point from our front line. And we will do that better by understanding the customer and how we can deliver through better conversations, easier customer journeys that will make it easier on our organization. The third area I want to talk about is collaboration. So Queen Charlotte University did some research, and they found out that 76% of leaders believe that our future lies in collaboration. And employees agree, and in fact 86% of employees are saying to us, yeah, we want more collaboration. But the big thing that they're also saying is we don't get it. And over 80% are saying the reason for their failure, their reason for leaving the organization, is a lack of collaboration and communication. So as we've moved into remote working, I would suggest to you that this is a key area. And if you look now across the UK, how we're seeing our health workers, how we're seeing our armies, how we're seeing over, what is it today, 750,000 volunteers collaborate together to make us stronger and better. Let's take some learning from that and bring it to our organizations. And as a leader, learning to collaborate, learning to know you don't have to do it all, learning to know how you can lead a collaborative team to bring together your IT, bring together your HR. Don't be the victim, be the leader of those people and take them forward for what you want. And learn how other people learn in doing that so that you can learn how to communicate with those organizations, but other people in your company. The fourth area is about going into the future and how we manage as leaders, humans and machines. So whether I'm a team leader or whether I'm a contact center strategic leader, I have to step to one further level. I have to learn how to manage humans and machines. I'm seeing the emergence of the IT department leading on managing machines. You know what? That's not their role. Their role is not to do that. Their role is to enable you with fabulous technology. But your role is to manage the human and the machine. The same way as HR don't run our contact centers, please don't fall victim of letting your IT departments try and do the same thing. Let them be your enablers. Give them the guidance. You know what works and you know what doesn't. Someone I was talking to recently, you know, the IT people have come in and rewritten their IVR to make it easier for customers. Well, I don't need to tell most of you listening to this how that doesn't work. So what they had to do was go and collaborate with IT, bring together a project team and change it. Get in there up front, collaborate across your business to learn that your role is changing to manage humans and machines. But a word of advice on that. A word of advice. If you are not a machine person, go learn. There's some great on-site online learning stuff, AI that's applying, that you can pick up and you can learn from different technologies and make sure that you have got a broad overview on what AI is, what blockchain is, what chatbots are, so that you can have intelligent conversations. Because as soon as you go to your IT people and they're not intelligent conversations, well, you kind of lost the game a bit. So what's the next area? The next area is about remote working. And wow, I saw a quote online recently, which I thought was brilliant. It was, what's catapulted your industry into digital transformation? Is it cost, is it technology, or is it COVID-19? Well, COVID-19, the coronavirus, has catapulted most organizations through this, wow, moving into online. One of my clients has moved from running a full contact center to total remote working in less than 10 days. They've done a fantastic job. Their leaders have, their teams have, their technology department as well has done a lot. And obviously their suppliers too. But you know what? Leading in a remote world is different. We've got to make sure that we manage this in a way that we can really take our teams with us. And I'm going to come on to that fairly shortly. The next area, I think part of this remote management is community. And it's how you as a leader, you're no longer responsible for loads of people underneath you. How do you build community? And there are three key ways that you can do that. Three key ways. One is look outside your contact center to find ways in which your contact center and your remote workers and your outsourced partners can do some work that benefits the wider community. That is number one way. I've loads of work working with organizations where we've taken the team off, and instead of going for yippee, wow, the old-fashioned great days out, what we're going off is going off and painting and decorating. We're cleaning garden centers for people, so that people in the community can really start to build a community across your contact center. Community is where it's at. Community is where it's at for the customer, and community is where it's at for your employees. And if you find you haven't got all your employees taking part in your events, then the second thing is to go out there and talk to your people and find out what they would like to do to help build community. Speaking to them, you'll find a diverse action, and maybe, just maybe, you'll end up for communities that you bring together within your contact center to make it work. And the third area that you can really work with community is across your business. So getting your teams and your key people to work and build on projects so that they feel part of the wider community, not just in your contact center. But I want to move on now and look at employee engagement and come on to this area around how we're engaging employees, because I think right now it's critical. I'm conscious of my time, so I'm going to move through this, not rapidly, but carefully. We have a proven employee engagement model, which has 6 key things. We know that when we operate them in the right way, we can engage our employees. But the third one on this list is culture and community. So how do we build that? And right now, I think when I look at the role of the team leader and all these things I was talking about earlier, there is one thing that I want you to take away from today. One thing, okay? Apart from Laura's presentation and everything that call center helpers say. And that is the importance of team huddles. And I think for the team leader and for the strategic leader, team huddles have become the most important thing to get into your business, because you can run effective team huddles remotely and in your contact center and with your partners and with your outsourced colleagues as well. Team huddles are the one thing that whenever I bring them up, contact centers shy away from. Every other area of the business will have huddles. The contact centers say to me, Natalie, we haven't got the investment time. We can't do it. We find a million reasons why not to do it. But whenever ever I get to the bottom of it, right? When I get to the contact center leader, when they do it and they do it well, they make a significant difference on the day's results, on employee retention, and also on communication. And huddles are the key to that, I guarantee it. So when you get your pushback and you can't find the time, please know that this is the way in which you will now survive. And you're gonna, I can hear someone saying, Natalie, we're in a crisis, you don't get it. Do get it. I promise you, I've led crisis teams, and those are the most important resource you have. Keep communication flowing is critical. Right, how do you do it, right? You bring people to the board. You move them away from the contact center. Remote working, they too stand up, right? People stand up for a huddle. Bring them to a board. Bring them to a screen, but people remote working have to stand up and stretch and move and participate, okay? So first thing, team huddles. Things to avoid, right? Let's avoid problem solving. Successful team huddles are engagement and to deliver the purpose. A team huddle takes no longer than 15 minutes. And I would suggest to you for remote working and for your contacts, bring them all together for 3 minutes rather than separate teams. Bring them all together. Every shift has a huddle. Stand up, don't sit down, go away at a board. But huddles are like religion. Set day of the week, set time, set place. Everybody knows that 9:30 on a Wednesday morning is the huddle. But if you want to get serious about it, I promise you, high-performing teams huddle every single day, every single shift. So if you want to shift performance, shift engagement, shift communication, every day is your answer. I can hear the pushback. No. Yes, I promise you it works. And then finally, they're about pace and energy and inspiration. They're not about problem solving, meetings, all the ad hoc stuff. They're not slow. They're about focus and bringing teams together. So huddles play a really key role in this crisis time and going forward. And I promise you, if you look at the metric around employee engagement, if you look at the metric around staff retention, and if you just walk into a team that's had a huddle rather than not, you will see a massive uplift. And if you don't, give me a call. Let's move on. That's my agenda for today. Before I go, one final thing. I just want to reach out and say, say this. Remember this as a leader, right? Sometimes the smallest things take up the most room in the heart. It's a classic Winnie the Pooh quote, isn't it? As a leader, remember those things like saying thank you, the post-it notes, the special email. Just don't lose sight of those things, because for people, they're the things they really remember most. Thank you very much. I hope that's been informative, useful, and good luck and well done to everybody today. Thank you, Rachel.
Fab. Thank you very much for that, Natalie. Lots of information. So just a reminder, everyone, we're coming to our quiz now. So to take part, you just need to go to our chat room, which is callcenterhelper.com/chat, or type in cch.chat. And while you're there, maybe you could share in 1 or 2 words, what did you like best about Natalie's presentation? I know that I took away quite a few takeaways. Just a few were the 4 imperatives for team managers: lead, engage, perform, connect. Also about collaboration and how important it is. I really liked, was it 76% of leaders believe in more collaboration? And finally, team huddles, you know, stand up, they can be 3 minutes. I know that Dion's put Natalie as 100% correct and spot on regarding the effectiveness of team huddles. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brilliant. So now we're coming to our quiz. So let me just pull up our quiz and let everyone dial into it. So we've got less than half the audience. So if you want to join in, we are running a prize that the winner of the quiz gets a bottle of champagne, box of chocolates, or an Amazon gift voucher. So just log in on callcenterhelper.com/chat, and these are the voting buttons down here. So I think we've got everyone. So we're going to start. So true or false, in 2015, only 5% of businesses had implemented leadership development at all levels. So A, true, or B, false. So if you just press the buttons at the bottom of the chat room. So we'll wait and see. Well, few more seconds. Okay. Oh, it's climbing rapidly. Okay, so yep, most of you got it correct. It was true. The data from Brandon Hall Research Group shows that the majority of leadership development is done at higher levels within the organization. So next question. Across the contact center industry, what is the average number of advisors that a team leader will manage? Is it A, 8, B, 11, C, 14, or D, 17? I think my screen is a little bit too zoomed in, so I'll just pull it out a bit. There we go. So that was A, 8, B, 11, C, 14, or D, 17. Last few seconds. And right, so most of you, it was a bit of a split one. So yep, the correct answer is B11. So in 2019, call center helper research of over 250 contact centers found that 11 is the average. However, there was a great variation, with 7% of contact centers having their team leaders manage 25 plus advisors. So Paul is in the lead at the moment. So next question. What percentage of employees cite lack of appreciation as a reason for quitting their job? Was it A, 19%, B, 39%, C, 59%, or D, 79%? So we'll wait for everyone. Right, last few. I think, yep. So actually, most people getting this one wrong. So the correct answer is D. It was 79%. This statistic, oh dear, from OC Tanner highlights that without doing special things to reward and recognize employees who are excelling within their roles, most will feel undervalued. So all changed at the top. So final question, which former US president once said, leadership is the art of getting someone else to do something you want done because he wants to do it? Was it A, Abraham Lincoln? Is it B, Theodore Roosevelt? Is it C, Dwight Eisenhower? Or was it D, Barack Obama? So final question, final chance to become the winner of the quiz. Last few seconds, I think most people have answered no. And yep, Most people got this one right. The correct answer is C, Dwight Eisenhower. This was one of Eisenhower's many famous leadership quotes, with another being, "You don't lead by beating people over the head. That's assault, not leadership," which I really enjoy. So the winner is Paul 116. Crikey, got a lot of pulls. So we'll be in touch after the webinar to ask you about your prize. So we're now going back to our chat room and going through your top tips and questions. So Mandy sent in a tip saying, be flexible with agents/staff, they're human. Get more out of them than if just process driven. Paul said, use WFM software to allow agents to manage their own schedule to a certain extent whilst working from home during this time. It will allow them to work their time around life's distractions. We have been forced to consider it and have found it to be super motivating. Laura, what are your thoughts on this one?
Interestingly enough, I actually wrote that one down as I saw it come into the chat because I agree, and I've actually worked with a couple companies who are finding the same. As they're paying attention to the needs of their agents, those agents feel that boost, that motivation. They, and they're just more motivated to be on the job when they're there and to have it become a fit at some point in their schedule. So I took note of that one as well.
Great. So Susan said she's currently reading John C. Maxwell's The 360-Degree Leadership book, which comes with a workbook. It really makes you analyze your work and style, and I highly recommend it. Natalie, I don't know whether you've read that one.
I'm reading Habits at the moment to change some habits, and I was in the middle of it, and my 12-year-old daughter saw it, and she said, "Mum, can I borrow it?" And I was like, "Yes, you can." So I haven't read that one, but seeing it there, Susan 18, I will take a look. Thank you.
So yeah, recommendation. So Laura sent in one saying our customer care leadership team has a daily video call that lasts 15 to 30 minutes as an informal check-in just to see how everyone is doing and not talk shop unless it's critical. On the flip side, how can we do this with our agents? We obviously can't pull them off the phones at the same time, and they do not have video capability on their desktop. So I think that's actually a question. So yeah, Natalie, what are your thoughts on this one?
You can do it by phone. You can easily do a conference call. They might not have any video capability, but they can log into something like Zoom. Most can do something like that. I would also not suggest 15 to 30 minutes. You can do it for 5 minutes. And remember, with your team, it's not just about how they're feeling. This is about you engaging them in a huddle, as I said earlier. If you want to engage how they're feeling, I would do it on a one-to-one basis as a contact center team leader. So if you've got your 11, and by the way, best practice is 12, so that's great to see that everyone's in that area. I would literally do it with your agents. Make it a must. Make it a must do. Build it in.
Fab. And I think we've got time for a question. So it's from Maggie saying, how do we empower agents to deliver great leadership skills without forcing them to? Laura, I don't know what your thoughts are on this one.
Yeah, I think a lot of it and the way that we motivate our agents is actually to give them insight into their own performance, give them the right tools that they need, in order to understand in real time what they did best, brag about what people are doing right? That helps with motivation as well. But letting them know what they maybe could have done in situations as well, which empowers them to want to do more and to feel good about doing more.
Brilliant. Well, I think this is a great chance to hand over to you to take us through your presentation. So let me just make you the presenter. Okay,
now comes the real trick, the technology trick. Let's see here. Where is my, here we go. So you should see.
Yep, we can see your full screen, so perfect.
Okay, you see the full PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I passed the technology test. Now I can get into the content. And so I am going to just jump right in. a little bit of statistics to start things off. In a recent Gartner survey, and I just like to bring things home a little bit with what are we seeing out there in the market, right? From organizations that look at it globally, that 86% of executives rank agent experience as the #1 factor in delivering customer experience. We heard Natalie talk about customer journey and employee journey, right? How much are we looking at the customer journey versus looking at the actual agent journey, for example? Now, what's interesting is, first of all, only 15% of our leaders rank agent experience as their #1 goal, yet they know it's the #1 factor in delivering customer experience. So why aren't more people focusing in that area, right? And not focusing in that area, it's really unfortunate because it means that we're not really investing in our employees. And then we see things like the statistics of how many people leave and why, right? So there's 25% overall attrition, you know, from a global perspective, from an agent population. That's negative attrition, right? Positive attrition might be moving on to another position advancement within the organization. But this is people who are leaving for a different company, a different job, maybe even outside of the contact center space, and we might lose really good agents simply because we're not paying attention to them as leaders, right? So the key message here is that it's equally important to look from an inside out perspective, right? As much as we look at our channels for delivering on customer satisfaction and customer experience, we need to look at our agent experience. We can't really successfully fully drive a customer of a high value, highly satisfying customer experience without moving our agent satisfaction up, right? Without focusing on what we're doing for those agents. So let's take a look at what motivates these agents, right? The #1 motivator of our agent population is helping customers. But the challenge they have is we're not actually giving them systems to do that, right? This is where we start to get into the technology. You can see here that 30% of the challenges that are noted are the hard to use systems. Management is up there too. What can we do to become better leaders, to engage, right, at the team level, as Natalie had stated, right? What are those important things that we can do? I thought Huddle was a great add too. We actually have couple of stories here, you know, on the focus on customer experience. I went into a business, a transportation industry business, probably, gosh, this had to be 8 to 10 years ago. And they were like, we've come to the realization that we've focused so much on our customer that we've essentially ignored our agents. Their technology at that time was 10 years behind the times, right? But yet they're expecting them to deliver an optimal agent experience, right? And that becomes very hard to do. And so it's not only that technology, but then we fast forward to today, and you know, one of the customers that I've been working with, they've implemented this same huddle strategy. Get online 5 minutes before those agents are supposed to log in. Get them a tool. I think this company is using Slack. Natalie mentioned Zoom. There's lots of tools out there that are free right now for you to use. Get them on for 5 minutes on video or a phone call. Talk about the day. Talk about the motivations of the day. Talk about what you think they're gonna, you know, encounter. You know, get any questions answered. Just get them together as a unit prior to logging in and starting their day, right? And it just becomes such an important thing. And talk about helping customers as their #1 motivation. That also helps to empower them, right? So what can we do though to hit that tool problem, right? Consolidated applications. Right now, if you look at it, most companies out there have 7 or unfortunately more applications that these agents need to interact with, interface with during a single customer interaction. That's not easy. I mean, I know on any regular basis on my desktop, I probably have 15 things open, but I'm not trying to service a customer and flip back and forth between all of those. And when I start needing to, I've got way too many things. It's hard to even create a focus on a conversation with that much noise in the background. You can see here a statistic from Aberdeen, 16% of the time that our agents are servicing those customers is wasted on switching between those applications. So what could we do to drive that higher level of satisfaction just by getting that right information, that application at the fingertips of the agent very quickly, right? And with the right information about the customer, the full context of that customer's need, their situation at the time, potentially even their mood, right? And so think about giving those agents the right tools. So we talked about this earlier, might have been prior to the kickoff of the event. But Rachel, you asked a question, you know, how are we educating our agents, right? Interestingly enough, only about 2%. So this is a recent survey that we have done with ICMI. The research is out there. It is available. There's some very interesting findings. You can also actually figure out your own progress in kind of your maturity level of motivating your agents and skilling your agents and things like that. But 2% of onboarding time is spent for high value problem solving skills. What's interesting here is if you add up what the data you see here, the customer service skills, learning to use the knowledge base, the things they need, plus the problem solving skills, those still all come to less than the time we spend in onboarding training on processes. What if we simplified our processes? How could we shift that focus in what we're doing to onboard our agents and make them successful? And then for the ongoing training, we found that half of agents receive less than 2 hours per month. So the consideration here of how we're going to get them the time, right, to do that training and what we would focus on, I think is critical. You can see here the distribution, not only of how we're allocating time for our agents as leaders, but as supervisors, what are we getting to help enhance our skills, whether those be soft skills, leadership skills, or how we might, you know, be interfacing with our agents now for a full work at home, right, deployment. So how can we begin to solve this, right? How can we accelerate that onboarding, right? This again can come to that consolidated desktop. Making the tools simpler to use allows us to spend the time on the actual service skills. But not only that, look at having the right analytics that can help you to quickly pinpoint skills gaps, or in real time look at the calls that those agents need help with and do a quick bite-sized learning package or a quick phone call with them to help them understand, you know, what might have been a different approach, right? Not from a negative perspective, do the same for the positive, right? And there are tools out there that can help you to identify which calls that are the most positive and which need the most coaching for your agents, right? And you don't have to scan through all the calls manually yourselves. You can look at 100% of those calls and quickly pinpoint which ones to identify. Your agents are going to have different skill gaps. So are your supervisors, right? So pinpoint the ones, use the tools available to you to pinpoint the ones where those specific agents need help, and then push those just-in-time learning bites. You can quickly get to 2 hours plus of just-in-time training, you know, in downtimes in your centers on a monthly basis, if you have the right tools to help you learn and know where to focus. And then lastly, and I know we want to save some time for quizzes and questions, so I want to get through the information and make it valuable for you, but I want to pay attention to the time as well. So our agents are motivated very much by understanding how they align with our organizational goals, right? And how they contribute to those. How do they see actual alignment with those goals and their delivery of it? You know, Natalie mentioned ROI, right? Of what they're doing for the organization. Why can't we brag for them about what they've done for our organization, how they've helped save opportunities, drive revenue, you know, increase productivity by paying attention to the tools, showing their contribution to your success. That can be the #2 source of motivation for your contact centers behind helping customers, letting them know that that's still a continued focus, right? So how can we do this? Real-time visibility into those goals. Gamification. I know a lot of us have heard about gamification, but how does that help motivate employees? How do those tools work? Are some contact centers are still asking that question. What are gamification tools? You know, how does it expose that data in a fair way? This helps create a healthy either self-competition or team competition within your agents to do better as a group and help motivate each other, leveraging the right tools. There are tools out there for that team collaboration, individual incentives, all data driven, right? And that really helps to drive on a much more consistent experience and helps agents see their contribution in real time to the success of your organization. So that's the real tip here, is be transparent, data driven, how they're impacting the goals of your organization. And then, so giving agents the speed, the skills, the focus. As leaders, if we can arm our agents and really focus on giving them the tools they need and being the leader that helps them to collaborate and understand their contribution, and that it's not a bad thing to enhance skills, right? Taking the right approach to leadership, getting that focus, ultimately it drives a better customer experience for our organization itself, right? So I threw this slide in just because I know there's a lot of people. We did a global webinar yesterday. Half of organizations still have not moved their agents home, and they're trying to find a way to do so. So, you know, certainly if you want to learn more about anything that I've talked about, but we do have an offer here to help companies. It's free for 45 days, up and running in 48 hours, getting your agents home and safe, right? And enabling you with the tools that you need to start that, you know, and enable that for your agents. Along with that, I do want to say, because I saw the question out there, how do we manage that workforce? How do we do the work from home piece? There are free consulting, you know, virtual consulting with our experts to help you anywhere from, I just need to know how to get started, to how do I now manage these work from home agents? And so it's just something we're trying to put out there to help organizations like yours get, you know, achieve these short-term goals. And so I wanted to make sure just to let people know that that was out there. And then with that, Natalie, I'm sorry, not Natalie, I'm not going to put you on the spot, Rachel. I'm going to turn it back over to you. I'm not going to make Natalie do your part.
Not to worry. Fab, brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Laura. So we are going to launch a quick poll to find out if people do want to see a demonstration or get in touch, find out more information. Yeah, just to say some brilliant takeaways that I took from your presentation. 15% of contact center leaders rank agent experience as their #1 goal. Definitely something that you know, needs to be improved. 24% of agents are motivated by leadership. And finally, 50% of agents receive less than 2 hours of ongoing training a month. So yeah, definitely something that we need to be improving at the moment, and how can we do it remotely and everything. So yeah, I'm going to close this poll down now and head over back to our chat room. Lots of interesting things coming through. We've had a question from Laura who said, how do you do a huddle when you have agents working different shifts and you can't pull them off phones at the same time? Natalie, what would be your thoughts on this one?
Hi, Laura, you're not going to like my answer, but the truth is you have to do it. So you have to work out a plan across your shift pattern that will enable the majority, and by the end of a day, everybody has been in a huddle. This is so critical that you do it with the shift patterns, so that even if you've got people with different shift patterns, you do it at that time of day when you will get everybody involved. So you as a manager might end up running 6 or 7, maybe more huddles in one day. So that really is important, that for your department there is a huddle pack, and that one person produces the pack that is disseminated consistently across everybody. How you disseminate it, how you run your huddle is maybe different to another team manager's, but the content's got to be the same for consistency. So you have to work at how you're going to do it. So look at the timings that you've got, look at the time you can do your huddle in, and I guarantee you 3-minute huddles work. You've got to get everybody on it. It has to be like religion. We start at 10 o'clock, it finishes at 10:03. So everyone doesn't feel pulled away. They want to be part of it. That's the power of delivering a great huddle. But that helps, Laura, but I knew you wouldn't like the answer.
Thank you. And just going back to the presentation, Laura, that you just did, different Laura, Yvonne said, I love the point Laura mentioned on her side about 16% of time being wasted switching between applications. So yeah. We've had a tip in from Laura as well. Oh, so many Lauras. We're running an attendance adherence contest where we're rewarding agents for hitting their adherence goals now that they're working from home and they have many more distractions. So Yvonne's sent in a tip saying, show trust and empower your team. Actually, one that I don't think we've got written down was one from Barry that said, a simple thank you can be highly motivating. It doesn't cost anything, which Natalie, I know that you brought up in your, right at the end of your presentation.
Yeah, but I think this word trust is so important. You know, I've got a great friend and she's a teacher. And one of the things that she's found, because of homeschooling, suddenly the government is trusting teachers. And she's gone, way, we're finally recognized. Well, you know what? The same applies to us all. The majority of your workforce are adults. They run families, they run homes, etc. Trust them. They will do a great job for you. But I think I just want to pick up on something Laura mentioned. And this is about trust them by making sure they're aligned to your company goals. So we call that purpose, right? So make sure they're aligned to your customer purpose, because that links beautifully in with helping customers. So trust them to do the right things for customers by aligning them to your customer purpose and your company purpose. And that way, just empower them. And you know what I found, when you empower people, they rise, they grow. So it's true.
Yeah. We've had a tip in from Dion who said, change your mindset and your teams as well as from work from home to support from home. Not entirely sure that makes sense. Everyone is affected by the current situation, so for most they'll understand slight changes in your typical support model. Yeah. Laura sent in a tip saying, empower agents to do whatever they need to make the customer happy. For example, we allow our agents to provide discounts, refunds to customers of whatever amount they feel is necessary to retain the customer. Laura, I don't know what your thoughts.
1 second, Rachel. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I worry about that, Laura. I worry about it because empowerment without ground rules is chaos, right? And that's really expensive for some organizations. So empower your people, I'm totally there, but give them the guidelines. And I think there are, off the top of my head, 5 levels of empowerment. That's too complicated. That give them ground rules so they know what they can do and so that they can feel free with that empowerment. Otherwise, your compensation budget goes mad. Yeah, anyway, sorry, Rachel. Go.
Laura, would you agree with that then?
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. And I actually want to add something that's important as you're moving to different digital channels and allowing customers to contact these agents over these different channels. Make sure that you're connecting those for your agents, that they have exposure to that. I hate to admit it, but I kind of did a little research for a company on my own and found that I got multiple discounts by contacting over multiple channels. So we want to be careful as we empower them to do these within guidelines, which I do think those guidelines are important, that we also give them all the information they need to ensure that they know if there's already been some level of, acknowledgement for this customer's issue already. I hate to say it, but there's people that will try to take advantage if you've got a hole. So.
Yeah. And we've got one final tip in that I'm just going to read off the chat room. It's just come in from Carol saying, work is not somewhere you go, it's something you do. With technology, you can manage and lead a team in exactly the same way as if they were all in the same room, which I think is brilliant. So unfortunately, we've reached the end of our webinar. If you could write in 1 or 2 words, what did you like best about today's webinar? The winning tip comes from Laurie 4 saying, encouraging agent collaboration is critical to employee satisfaction. My software support team members have high individual satisfaction because they each have each other's backs. They tell me this every day. So we'll be in touch later on this afternoon. Just a reminder to complete the survey when you leave the webinar. It's only 4 questions long. The replay will be available this afternoon, later on this afternoon, along with slides from both our speakers. We'll be back in a few weeks' time with our webinar on emotional intelligence. But for today, I just want to say thank you very much to our two brilliant speakers. To Natalie Calvert, thank you very much for your great insight.
Thank you. It's been really, as always, really enjoyable. Great audience as well. Fantastic question.
Thank you. And to Laura Bassett, thank you very much for joining us as well.
Absolutely. And just compliments to you. I love the format. I love the chat. This was a great experience for me as well.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much all, and thank you to our audience. We'll see you in a few weeks' time. Thank you. Bye.